Hello and welcome to Meet the Author. My name is Viv Oyulu. Meet the Author is with published and soon-to-be published authors, giving an insight into who they are and their journey to becoming an author. You can find out more at audio-byte.co.uk/Meet the Author. This interview is with Rebecca Perkins. Rebecca describes herself as an ordinary woman. She's a mother, sister, daughter, and was once a wife for 21 years. In her book, Best Knickers Always, 50 Lessons for Midlife, she talks about how she turned her life around after a painful divorce and suffering years of depression to be a stronger, happier, and grateful woman. Hi Rebecca, how are you? And welcome to the interview.
Thank you, Viv. I'm very well. And how about you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. You're a soon-to-be published author?
I am. Still pinching myself.
So tell us about you, your book, and how you came to be an author.
Well, it's a funny story, really, because the first time I started writing, apart from having had to do it at school, etc., was in 2007, so actually not that long ago. And the reason I started writing was that I was retraining as a coach at the time, and I was going through some issues, or the beginning of some issues that I knew I needed to deal with. I had a coach, and one of the first things he said to me was, I want you to start writing down your thoughts. And I was adamant that I was not going to do that because I'd been told at school I had no imagination and writing was just something that I avoided at all costs. And he made it very clear that there was no option in this. This is something I was going to have to do. And I started writing and I couldn't stop. And then it helped me make sense of my life. It was quite a profound change, enlightenment, if you like, for me, which was quite something. And the reason that I've written this, or what happened, how I came to publish this book or write this book, was that a year later, 2008, I took the decision to end a 20-year marriage, which was a very, very tough decision to make.
I can imagine.
We'd had illness in the family. I had one child leaving home for university, as they do. I'd suffered years of depression on and off. And once my marriage had ended, and then I'd rebounded into kind of a love affair, if you like, and that had ended, that I felt completely shattered. And it was in writing that it helped me make sense of where I was. And I found it very healing. And then that led to kind of 4 years later, this healing process. And I was sat in my garden one morning actually, and realized that I'd come a very long way, that I'd been in this very bad place to where I was that day, which was feeling much lighter and much more positive. And I thought to myself, what have I done to get me from there to here? And I started making some bullet points in a journal. And 100 and whatever bullet points later, I realized that actually I had something that I could use and create into a book. And then it was with encouragement from friends. I mean, that kind of goes into a lot more detail around belief and, things like that. Was this good enough to do anything with? And I was celebrating my 50th birthday last year, so 2013. And I just thought, you know what? I'm looking forward to the rest of my life. Why don't I publish this book as an ebook and see what happens? And I had some extraordinary feedback from people. And one of the things that happened was that I was then approached by a major publisher who'd read my book and loved it and wanted to publish it.
I was going to ask you, you were talking about the 101 things that you had written down. Do you think that process was easy for you because you had been training as a coach and had become a coach at that time?
I don't know. I think it could well be. I was still a novice at writing, but I had found such a benefit from just getting everything out of my head and onto paper. And it was just, I was asking myself, so what had I done? And there were things like I spent time outdoors as much as I could. I surrounded myself with positive people. I had learnt to laugh more. I had decided that perfect wasn't necessary. So it was those sorts of things. And I think if we give ourselves time for our subconscious to kick in. There's all sorts of stuff in our heads.
When it comes to sharing your story, why do you think you wanted to share your story in terms of a book? Did you think that there was an audience out there that was ready to hear what you had to say?
Yes, in that I'd been blogging for a while. My blog had been Best Nick as Always, which was part of the title of the book. And I'd had a lot of feedback, and people would say to me, I don't feel so alone when I read your blogs. So in a way, for me to share my story, it's very honest. And there are things in it that'll make you laugh and things that'll make you cry. But for me, I guess I wanted to be a support, to encourage, to give courage to others, and for women to think, oh, me too. It's not just me.
Yeah.
It had come about encouragement from friends, really, I think. One friend, when I sent her the précis, if you like, of the book, part of me was expecting yes, it would make a great blog post, but what she came back with was, do not deny women this book.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, better do it then.
So tell us, what was the journey like writing? Did it take you long when you knew that, okay, this was going to be, quote unquote, a proper book?
Yeah.
What was the process like for you to write it?
Well, I think for me, because it's personal, so, it's non-fiction, if you like, that I can sit and write and I lose hours of time because I'm just so in the flow.
Yeah.
I feel it. So there was a lot of stuff I was reliving, if you like, to get down into the book. And that I knew I needed to feel. So I didn't find it difficult to write. And maybe that's because it's non-fiction, I don't know, but I didn't feel we often have this image of the tortured artist, waiting for inspiration.
Yeah.
But the inspiration was there because I'd experienced it, and it's my voice, if you like. It was me as if I was sitting having a conversation with a friend, and it comes out in the book. And that's the style, the nature of the book, if you like.
Yes, so there's definitely a sense of the real you coming through.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's the feedback that I've had as well.
So what would you like readers to take away from the book?
A sense of not being alone, that people have read my book or will read my book and think it's not just me going through all this stuff. A sense of comfort as well, if you like. As I said, there will be things in there that will make people laugh and make people cry. In fact, a little story, a friend had the ebook, the original format, and the new book is much bigger. But she'd read it on the plane going out on holiday and was sitting next to her husband, who, poked her at one point and said, "What are you reading? Because you've been crying, you've got a great big grin on your face right now, and you've been laughing out loud." So it's that kind of journey. There'll be bits of advice in there. You can take it or leave it. It might work for you. There'll be a bit of coaching, subliminal coaching in a way, feeling like you've got your hand held. And also that feeling of, Rebecca's talking to me.
Would you say there's an ideal reader for this book?
Well, it's funny because the second half of the title is 50 Lessons for Midlife. So I guess it sets out as a book for women who are in midlife, and midlife can span, any number of years. Some people in their mid-30s might consider themselves to be midlife, and some people in their 60s. It's a term, if you like, but it's at that transitional phase. But I have had a friend's son who is 18. I've known him since he was a baby. He wanted to read it, and he said to me, "I'm not a woman and I'm not midlife, but so much of what you've written about appeals and applies to my life too."
Oh, really? So what kind of things do you think in particular he was referring to?
Well, it could have been, how you tackle a problem. It's one step at a time. It might be things like being mindful. I meditate, and I don't sort of say to people, you must meditate, but it's something that an 18-year-old boy might find interesting to bring him back, if you like. This laughter, this thing about doing something different, surprise your friends, surprise yourself, not being judgmental, spending time with people that are older than you and younger than you. So it gives you a broad kind of picture, if you like, and those are the lessons, if you like, for any of us.
So it's going to be published soon?
It is the first half of June this year, so not long.
And it's going to be an exciting day, isn't it?
It is, I know. I can't wait.
Well, what else are you working on at the moment?
Well, I'm putting some thoughts down for a second book. I've got some ideas, but in a way, I want to be led by feedback that I get, in a way, what would people like to read about? What do they want information on? Where do they feel they need support? So I've got some ideas, so that's exciting. I'm also putting together an online coaching program, something that if people, because I work as a coach and people can hire me, to do one-to-one work, but if they're not ready to do that, it's almost like a distance to get a taster of what coaching could be like. And then the other thing that I'm working on, which has come about because of people asking me, is to do some meditation audio.
Really?
Yes. So that's something that will be very new to me, actually getting to grips with the technology of it. But it's something that people have connected with the sound of my voice and have said, I feel so much calmer when I've spoken to you. Do you do meditation? So I thought, oh, well, why not?
So where can people find you?
All the usual social media, but if I give you've got my website there, I think rebperkins.com, that's where kind of the main stuff is. And there's sign up things for weekly food for thought emails. I'm on Facebook at /Best Knickers Always, and that's a very active Facebook page I have. I'm also on Twitter at rebperkins1, so just the number 1 at the end there. And then I also have a Pinterest and Instagram account as well, which are developing. And my address at those two is Be Bodacious, BEA Bodacious. I love the word bodacious, and it comes from a fabulous Maya Angelou quote about women being bodacious enough to reinvent themselves. And I like that.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, I'm really wishing you well with your book launch and the success of everything that you're going to be doing once it's been launched.
Thank you so much, Viv. It's been an absolute pleasure. Wonderful talking to you.
Okay. Take care then.
Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this interview with the author and would like to find out more, please go to audio-byte.co.uk /meet the author.